No tears. Well, some tears. Not the crying ones, the fantasy basketball ones. That was a bad intro. Michael Bolton, save us.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and what's the soup du jour? That sounds good. I'll have that. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here, and right now new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app now to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms, so double bang, thumbs, comments, and if you are watching on the YouTube mobile app, in the comments section, scroll across to your right and push the hype button. Give me a hype. If you've got one free, I would love to take it. So, what are we doing? I know people don't watch every second of the shows. I get that. They might scroll through and the questions will be, hey, where's this player? So let's do it. Let's do a disclaimer again. I'm doing a show on tiers, and we talked about why I'm not going to be looking at it positionally, because positions are quite nebulous. There's differences in eligibilities across different sites. I'm not sure how much utility there is in it. I wanted to break it down into strengths. And the first show we did was multi-category strength players. Players with above average contributions in 5 or more fantasy categories. So if the player you're asking about is not in this show, they are in that one. Okay? Where's Jalen Williams? He's in that one. Where's Steph Curry? He's in that one. Where's Kevin Durant? He's in that one. That's how we're doing it. I'm not repeating the guys from the multi-cat stat stuffer shows into these more specific, nuanced, niche, some may say, tiering-based shows. But I'm sure I'm still going to get the question. And if someone asks the question, can someone else answer it? I can't be bothered going into the comments and answering it again. So, if the player you think isn't here, and it's where's Jalen Brown? Hey, I don't see Derek White. I thought he'd be here. Any other show? Yeah? What is this show? What are we looking at? I'm looking at the combination of 3 categories. Points. I'm looking at the combination of, I said points. Points, threes, and free throw percentage. Sort of the scorer's bounty, to use a ridiculously bad phrase. Guys that score. Guys that are shooters. Guys that help the free throw percentage category. I'm going to do another show that ignores points a little bit, and it goes into assists, steals, and even free throws. And then we're going to do a show on tiering of categories that you don't normally associate together to find the weirdos. Maybe we'll just call that one the weirdos, and that's what we'll do. When I went through to see the most likely combination of players with above average in categories, the most common thing outside of the guys who were the 5+ above average stat stuffers, the most common pairing was 3-pointers and free throw percentage. That was the most common thing. You can find guys very far down into the 300s even of projected ranks who might be above average contributors in both of those categories. The next 3 most common categories are the ones I tackled yesterday: blocks, field goals, and rebounds in all 3 combinations there. But threes and free throws were one of the highest ones. Well, they were the highest combination. So that is what we're talking about. And as you know, the highest ranked player that didn't appear on my Stat Stuffer show was Devin Booker. Because according to my projections, which are very, very far from infallible, they're not infallible at all, he did not hit above average in 5 or more categories. Therefore, he didn't make the cutoff. Now, he could. All he would need to do is average over 1.1 steals a game. Or over 1 steal a game. And he would get there. Because he's going to hit points, he's going to get threes, he's going to get a ton of assists, he's going to be excellent at free throws. That's 4. That's pretty good. But I had a cutoff of 5, and he didn't get there based on the projections. And nearly everybody else, as a top 40 player, did. They were able to find themselves as an above-average contributor in 5 categories, and Booker did not. But he is very clearly in this grouping of scorers, points, threes, and free throws. And remember, if a name, if you're watching on YouTube, is highlighted in blue like Devin Booker is, what that means is that they produce above average contributions in all 3 of the categories we're talking about, points and threes. Some of the guys will produce above average in 2 of the categories. Booker is going to give it 2 in 3, very obviously, and you throw assists in there, and like his usage is going to go up. He's going to be the primary point guard. Maybe the steals go up, maybe they don't. He's not a disaster. Well, actually, 0.9 is not great. Like, if he gets that number, it's not great. But, again, this is the nuance. Fantasy basketball is not a solved game. It's something where we're constantly changing and evolving, and there are so many branches and angles that we can take on all of this stuff. Don't ever be sold the idea that there is a one way to win or one path to take, because it's just not true. It's really, really clearly just not true. Let's go to tier 2. And I do have quite a few players in tier 2, 7 of them in fact, and you're going to think that a lot of the names don't really make sense together. That's okay. My Basketball Monster colleague Matt Smith had a tweet yesterday. Matt, I like the tweet. He said, ADP is pretty useless. Okay. As I say that and display ADP on the screen here. But I get that. Because he's like, it's heavily influenced by auto drafts. It's heavily influenced by the order that the players are positioned on the site where the players are being drafted. So people go, oh yeah, he's at the top, I'll draft him. And then it's a feedback loop. And how many times have you seen, heard, or experienced yourself when you go, you do a mock draft, you watch a mock draft, you hear other people's drafts, and you go into your draft, and then someone goes 30 spots high. You go, what? His ADP wasn't there. What happened? Oh, my plan's screwed. All that is a way for me to bring this back in and go, how a player is ranked according to a traditional ranking 9-cat method, again, which has incredible flaws. Debate it with me if you want. You'll lose, but debate it with me if you want. Or you look at how they did last season, or how they're projected here, or this list here, or how you think they should be ranked. In the end, value it can be very nebulous of a topic. So you'll see me having Paolo Banchero here, whose ADP is 14 on Yahoo. Again, what are we doing? That's because his rank is 12, and that's a points league based rank, because again, they don't split it up, causing confusion. On Fantrax, he's at 35. And then the second name you'll see in my tier 2 is Peyton Pritchard. Now, Pritchard is an above average contributor in these 3 categories. Paolo is not, because of his free throws, but he has other strengths. Now, I am not suggesting that you should take Peyton Pritchard or Paolo Banchero in the same spot. I'm not saying you should do that. But when I'm putting out these tiers, I'm saying that the overall contributions of these players is similar enough to a degree that I think you need to be considered here. And the main takeaway on the Peyton Pritchard stuff here is, of course, that you can get him pretty late based on his ADP. And I think he's getting really underrated. I've also got Kobe White and Trey Murphy in this tier 2 grouping. Again, it might seem stupid to have Paolo, Pritchard, White, and Murphy all together, including the next 3 names I'm going to talk about as well, into a single tier. And again, it does not mean that you have to take them in this order or in this area or whatever. You could realistically find yourself drafting Murphy or let me go to the other names on this list, because that's probably a little bit more illustrative. Because the other 3 names in tier 2 for me are Franz Wagner, Jalen Brunson, and De'Aaron Fox. You could draft Jalen Brunson in round 2. You could get Paolo Banchero in round 3. You could get Trey Murphy in round 4, Kobe White in round 5, and Peyton Pritchard round 7, and end up with 5 of the players I have in tier 2 for this category. Very easily, because of how they may be positioned in draft rooms. Now, is that an overload of these 3 categories? Probably. But it's about, I think that drafting Jalen Brunson at 11 as an ESPN ADP is it's very efficient at losing your league. Incredibly efficient. Wouldn't touch him there at all. Not even close to it. De'Aaron Fox at 24, probably too early for me. Franz Wagner's in this thing at 34, probably a bit early for me. But if you find them in areas that make sense. Like, this seems like a disparate group of names. Banchero, Murphy, Pritchard, Wagner, Brunson, Fox. Someone else I'm missing in that list. But overall, I don't think the value is that different. It is different because of slight differences in categories. Like, for example, Darren Fox and Jalen Brunson. Brunson I've got as a positive contributor in all three. I've only got Fox as a positive in two because I don't know that he hits the free throws. I've only got Wagner as above average in two because I don't know that he hits the threes. But it could all change. And that's where we're at with tier 2. And again, I hope that idea makes sense. I'm not telling you that Brunson's going to go behind these players or in the same spot. I just think that he is framing up to be incredibly overrated this season. Someone like Pritchard's underrated. Fox is overrated. It just depends on the individual thing and what you're actually looking to build on your squad. Sort of let that marinate a bit. Let it just touch corners of your brain. We'll come back and talk about the other 6 tiers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And with the NFL season here, we've got season-ending injuries, we've got spitting, it's all there. I don't know if you can bet on that on FanDuel, but they are sure making you ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use right across the app. You can put your knowledge to the test on any of this week's Week 1 NFL action, college football, NBA futures, the end of the WNBA season coming up as well. Build that same game parlay, use your spreads or totals, futures, anything. It's all there. Plus, of course, if you win that first $5 bet, you got $300 in bonus bets. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by going to FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay. Again, when we're talking about rankings and tiers, I don't want to be a hand holder. I'm never going to want to be that. I'm not here. Do this right now. Take him here, right here. Then you take this player. Is that fun? I don't think so. I want to give ideas, thoughts, open up your brains to our spiritual energies. I don't know, I'm feeling a bit weird this morning. Just to think about ideas and think about ways that we approach or value the players and how, if I'm going to tell you I don't believe in a certain player, I'm usually going to explain why that is, or why that's too early, or why we can look at it a different way, rather than sticking to rigid structures of Peyton Pritchard should go at 90, and Brunson's an early second round player. Okay, maybe the difference is not that different, that we should be having that big of a gap. So I'm not going to hold your hands. Go draft him. Now pick him. Now pick him. Bang. Guaranteed league winners. Sorry, I've actually lost my mind. It's a real problem. Let's go to tier 3. The next grouping of these contributors in either two or three of these categories. Points, 3-pointers made, or free throw percentage. So, Brandon Ingram. I am finding myself, much to my own chagrin, drafting Brandon Ingram in a lot of leagues. Do I like Brandon Ingram? No, not at all. I hate him as a player. I think he's a guy that can put up some numbers and lead you to a great 32-win season. Have I seen him work in a situation where he's not that number one guy and he's contributing to winning basketball? No. I hate it. But he's paid. He's going to start. He's going to put up enough numbers, and I'm finding myself drafting him a lot. His ADP is around the 80s. I'm getting him in the 90s sometimes. And he does contribute in these categories. The next guy is on a new team. Again, a player that I just don't think is a particularly strong player. Yes, he did lead the Houston Rockets, the number 2 seed in the West, in usage last season. But there's too much inconsistency with Jalen Green for me to get excited about. In fact, he's not even a two-category contributor. Or sorry, a 3-category contributor in this one. But I think this is a fair enough area. Now, ESPN, of course, you'll be shocked to know drafters have lost their mind. His ADP is 49 in Phoenix. He is still going to struggle. In fact, again, I don't project him to be an above-average contributor in these 3 categories. I don't think he'll get there in free throw percentage, but he could. He very easily could, Jalen Green. Last season, he shot 81 from the line. He was at 21 points with 3 threes and 4.6 rebounds. All right, maybe he does become a better free throw shooter. Like 81's borderline. It's very borderline, and he could easily be a 3 category guy. But look at everything else: bad field goals, bad blocks, bad steals, subpar assists, subpar rebounds. He's the 3 category guy And one of those categories is not that strong, and that's free throws. So taking him in the top 50 is clear insanity. His teammate, Fred VanVleet, is also in tier 3. Now, VanVleet's not going to score very much. I do think his role is somewhat secure, and it would be pretty hard for him to shoot worse than he did last season. He's going to get threes. He's going to be very good at free throws. He'll also add some steals into this mix and assists. So he's nice there. And then the other one is Larry Markkinen. And there's a big discrepancy in where people are viewing him. 93 on ESPN, 48 on FanDuel. 48, hey, shout out to FanDuel. 48 on Yahoo. That's insane. We don't do that. But Markkinen, again, provides this value across these 3 categories. He also chucks in some above-average rebounds. These are all players that... and again, I think the ADPs of these guys mainly line up to be in that same or similar spot. Now we move to the rest. Well, now we move to tier 4 actually, and the player type here is quite different. I got Shaedon Sharpe in this group, who I'll admit is I think pretty risky. His ADP is a little bit all over the shop. He's an undrafted player on ESPN. Consider that undrafted. I don't know that he's going to start. The Blazers have got 7 guys who have cases to start. He's one of them. 30 minutes off the bench for him puts him out of this area. 33 minutes puts him into this area. He played 31 last season, 18 points and 2 threes on 79 from the line. Can he get that number up? I actually think he can. I think, and I've projected him to be an above average contributor in free throw percentage. He might not though. We will see what they decide to do with Shaedon Sharpe. But I do like him in that round 9, round 10 sort of area with some of these other guys we've got here. One of the names was a guy we actually talked about yesterday in the big man tier. And that's an interesting crossover, isn't it? Because Alex Sarr is here. Now, I don't know the severity of his calf strain. That could keep him out for a long time and he won't be here. But we already know he's going to get some rebounds. He's going to block shots. He's also going to hit threes. And I think he's going to be a solid to above average point scorer. I don't think his percentages are going to be good. But he's an interesting sort of a player. Again, undrafted on ESPN, 72 on Yahoo. Michael Porter Jr. is also here. Big scorer, big three-pointers guy, pretty good free throw guy, some solid rebounds. You're not getting anything else. But he's going to score a lot. The problem with him is going to be availability. And the other guy here in tier 4 is someone who honestly, and this might surprise you, Bradley Beal almost made it, and he was, I think, when I adjust my projections, which there are adjustments made most days of my projections, he is now considered an above-average contributor in 5+ categories. Does that mean you want to reach for Bradley Beal or feel excited about him? No, absolutely not. He's still on a team with Kawhi Leonard for now, James Harden, Zubats, John Collins, but he does little bits and pieces across the board. So Beal, who's going the latest out of all of these 4 players in tier 4, I actually love that. If I'm getting Bradley Beal as my last starter, I'm pretty good with that. I think that's pretty decent, pretty strong value, in fact. Next, we're going to look at tier 5. We've got 7 players in tier 5. The first 4. One of the names we talked about yesterday, that's Matas Buzelis. In fact, 2 of the names we talked about yesterday, with Keegan Murray there as well. Buzelis again, undrafted ADP on ESPN. His free throw percentage was very impressive. His 3-pointers, I think, are going to improve. I don't have him projected to be above average in all 3, but he could be. He could be easily. He is one of the guys that, again, I am at this point, September the 6th, I'm sitting there going, Peyton Pritchard is someone I'm going to target a lot late. Matas Buzelis is someone I'm going to target. But I'm not going to be looking at them and going, I must have them. Therefore, I'll take Pritchard at 40 and I'll take Buzelis at 70 or 60. I'd love it if I get them later. And they are currently very much undervalued to me. Buzelis is. Andy Wiggins is in this area. Wiggins' free throws have always been up and down, but I think he's going to get enough usage. He might even block a cheeky shot or 2. He hit some threes. He's an average rebound and assist guy. And he's almost the new Harrison Barnes. Maybe he's the new Thick Hogsman. Just a boring ass small forward, power forward. You go, all right, whatever, man. Sure, you're fine. I don't want that guy in round 12. I want an upside play, but I don't mind Wiggins in 10. It's fine. Keegan Murray's there again. This is sort of what he does. The usage may not be high enough for points to hit above average. That's okay. And I've also got Cam Johnson here, who I think people are there's a level of, I don't know if delusion, and I can eat my words on this. I think people just think he's so clearly better than Michael Porter Jr. that he's going to put up great numbers. And I don't think that's true. I think that he's worse than Michael Porter Jr. And that's okay. I'm not saying he's a lot worse. But I don't think it's as easy as looking at what Michael Porter Jr. did last season and then ramping the numbers up. I think I'd push him down a bit. And even then, Porter wasn't that good. So I think Johnson's ADP and his draft range, his rankings, is probably a little bit high. But this is what he does. It's points, threes, and free throws. Anything else, you feel like maybe there's maybe it's a little bit of a bonus if that's what you get to. I'm going to come back and talk about, no, you know what? Let's just do the rest of Tier 5 now. Because you've probably been wondering where these two Kings players are, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. They're here. Their ADPs are in the 50s or 60s. In fact, DeRozan on ESPN is 34. Again, take Brunson 11, take DeRozan at 34, pack it up. You don't have to worry about looking at your team. You've lost it. It's done. It's over. I just don't really, I think the value of what they bring, it's still fine. But if you're taking these guys with your 4th pick or 5th pick, I don't like that. I don't get it. There's too many guys there. So I've got guys like DeRozan, LaVine, Sabonis, all just taking bits and hits off their overall numbers. And that team still isn't settled. Are they getting Kuminga? Is Westbrook joining it at some point? I don't know. I've got them here. And the other name there is Cam Thomas, who signed his qualifying offer, which gives him a no-trade clause. 1 year, $6 million. The discourse on Cam Thomas is always funny to me. Oh, just wait. Just wait. He's going to ball out to prove. Yeah, that was last year. Yeah, he should have done that last year, but he didn't. This is where contract years fall apart. The contract year theory only works when a player has a good year. When they're in a contract year and they perform poorly, it's what about the next one? The next one will be it, because now he's got the chance to make money again. Cam Thomas received no offers in restricted free agency that I'm aware of. The Nets didn't want to pay him because, again, he's not good. He scores, but he's not good. Now, I believe that the qualifying offer for Cam Thomas makes him a worse fantasy player this season because the Nets have no control over him for next season. There's obviously discord in them and their discussions and negotiations. I don't think he's going to want to be back. If they trade him, he's got complete veto power. He can be like, no. But he also might be like, yeah, get me out of here. And I don't think they're going to tailor an entire game plan around, all right, Cam, let's see what you can do with 30 shots a night. I think I said this in yesterday's show. Maybe if they want to go 0-82, they'd do that. But this is what he does, with an occasional smattering of assists in there as well. Got a few more players to fire off here towards the end of this show, just to get those final names out. That was Tier 5. Tier 6 is 6 players. And again, it's a grouping of guys who are at some points underrated and some overrated. I think that Portland wouldn't have gone out of their way and given up draft picks, which I know eventually got rescinded, to get Drew Holiday, who's on a long-term contract, without intending to play him. Now, Drew was incredibly washed last season. Does that mean that he's definitely washed? He's not playing alongside Tatum, Brown, and White or Porzingis this season. It's a little bit of a different usage distribution. But I think he's worth looking at. Even if we talk flyer range, Drew could actually be 30, 40 spots better than if you pick him in the last round. He could be. He might not be, but he could be. I think there's a real risk of Jalen Suggs going too early. His ADP on Fantrax is 85. There is just no way. His usage was 26% last season, I think, off the top of my head. Because most of his games came without either Paolo or Franz, a lot of them without both, and now you got to add both those guys plus Desmond Bane. Forget it. Just no. He is a later round guy. If Dante DiVincenzo is named a starter in Minnesota, he will jump a tier ahead of this. Devin Vassell, I like, but there's no guarantee that he starts. And with Fox, with ballhog Stephon Castle, with Victor Wembanyama, with Dylan Harper, he's just not going to get to do enough. So we have him here. Norman Powell has got an ADP inside the top 100 in all sites. He is a positive or above average contributor in all three of these categories, Norman Powell. But most of his damage was done where him and James Harden, and that's it. Kawhi was out. He shot 45% from 3. He hit every 2 in the world. And we know he's not going to give you any rebounds or assists, and his steals and blocks are going to be bad. He goes to Miami, where you could say, well, maybe he's the number 2 there. I don't think he will be. I think it'll be Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, with Powell maybe second to Bam, but Wiggins is there as well. And Powell is such an empty contributor in so many areas that I don't want him as my 8th best player, expecting a recurrence of what happened at the start of last season. There's a lot of people who say, yeah, he should have been an all-star. No, he shouldn't have. He had a really good start to the season, but absolutely he should not have been. And we saw recurrent hamstring injuries and a huge drop-off in form as well. So, that number didn't mention that. Aaron Nesmith, again. Somebody takes up the slack in Indiana. There's no Miles Turner. All right, Jay Huff comes back. There's no Tyrese Halliburton. Now, we expect Andrew Nembhard to do more, Benedict Mathurin to do more, but Nesmith's going to start, even if it's 2 extra shots a game, 1 extra pick and roll possession a game. Get me half an extra assist, 2 extra points. It's enough. This is what he does, and he's a good steals guy. He can help you with the points and with the threes. And he's, you know what? His points might not even get above average. Maybe it's his free throws. But I don't know. I'm not soured on the idea of Aaron Nesmith as an option. Let's do tier 7. I've got DeAndre Hunter here. And there are 2 players I have in this tier who are going to have more value early in the season versus late. One of them is DeAndre Hunter, who's getting drafted second last round. The reason his value is up higher, no Max Strus, no Darius Garland. He's almost certainly going to have to start, and usage is going to go up. And as the season goes on, those things will drop. But that's okay. For a major part, especially in a regular daily changes league, you're drafting for now. You can't draft for March because you can't hold those guys. You're drafting for now. So if he and D'Angelo Russell, who's got an ADP of 107, which seems very high, you draft them and you want to go a little earlier on them, that's okay, because we know that when Kyrie returns, D'Lo's role will be dropped. Now, who knows when or if Kyrie returns. But they're both in that zone. The other 2 guys here, Benedict Mathurin, again, huge discrepancy. ADP 89 on Yahoo, 136, undrafted on ESPN. He's going to step up. He has to step up more without Halliburton. Should start. Well, Carlos said he'll start. Usage up. Good free throw percentage. Not really sure he knows what to do with rebounds, assists, steals, or blocks, or field goal percentage. But points, threes, free throws, he should be able to help there. Maybe. And the other name there is Jaden Ivey. Coming off an injury, I expect that he starts, but there's still question marks on that team. Does his shooting carry over? I like it as a later round pick. Again, he will also add some assists into this mix too. He's not the greatest free throw guy though. But he did hit his free throws well last season. And then we go to the final tier, tier 8, which is the sort of flyery, punty sort of guys. And there's some names that you'll go, what? Who's that? Why is he there? Cam Whitmore's there. I don't know if Cam Whitmore's going to start. We might revisit this on the 10th of October. It's preseason and Whitmore's a 3rd stringer. We go, we are not touching this. We might also hit October the 5th and Cam Whitmore starting over Keisha and George playing 32 minutes a night. And I'm saying, okay, now we consider round 10 as a Cam Whitmore zone. But at the way we currently sit, he's like, oh, we'll see. We'll see where it plays out. And we know what he is. He's a points guy. He's a threes guy. With a couple of steals. Malik Monk is getting overdrafted. A lot of Malik Monk's value came last season when he was installed as a starter. Fox was injured and traded. Other guys were out. And then when Levine came over, under Doug Christie, Monk's role got reduced. They were trying desperately to trade him in the offseason. And he's just not playing 33 minutes a night. I don't see how that happens. With Dennis Schroeder, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, maybe Russell Westbrook, Keon Ellis, Devin Carter, I don't see how it happens. I've got him in tier 8 in his flyer zone, meaning I'll never draft Malik Monk this season, and I'm okay with that. I've also got Lonzo Ball there. You got Lonzo Ball? Yeah. Again, maybe, early in the season with no Strus and no Garland, Ball plays 25 minutes a night. He won't hit the points marker, but his free throws, his three-pointers, get some steals, out-of-position blocks, assists. He's a nice option there. Just a name to consider. I've also got CJ McCollum there. Now, you say, how can CJ McCollum and Lonzo Ball be in the same area? And I get that. CJ is going to have issues in lots of different areas, but also, he's not going to be playing in March and April, I'm pretty sure. And if he is, it's not going to be for the Wizards. And then if it's not for the Wizards, it's going to be on a team where his role is much smaller. So, like D'Angelo Russell, like DeAndre Hunter or even Lonzo Ball, you're drafting CJ for, I think, a decent early chunk of production, but understanding that the level of that holding is probably not real. I've also got Grayson Allen there. I did not expect Grayson Allen to project well, but Phoenix is a weird team. Allen, I don't think, plays the big minutes that he played 2 years ago and shot 46% from three, but I think he does more than he did last season. And we're talking about someone who can be a threes and free throw percentage player. That's who he is. Current no-team legend Al Horford is also here. Horford, good free throws. Not volume, but good free throws. Solid threes. Much like with Alex Sarr, a name that is out of position in this grouping of players. As are two of the names on the rest of Tier 8. Jabari Smith Jr., who I'm not convinced is a must-draft player. I think he probably will start next to Kevin Durant, but he might not. But usage is not going to be super... Oh, no, actually, I do think his usage goes up from last season, but the big defensive stats from Auburn never came. And he has, obviously, consistency issues. And the other one there is Little Chungus, Nikola Jovic, who's playing really well over in Eurobasket. At the moment, it is between him and Kel Alware to be the starting power forward / center. I think there is a chance that Jovic starts because the Heat have no backup centers at all, and it requires more staggering to start Bam and Ware together. But if Jovic is a 27-minute a night guy, then I like this here. There are two other names on this list that have above-average projections in all three of the points, threes, and free throw percentage category, and it's Keontae George and Anthony Simons. I think George could start, but he came off the bench for a big chunk in Utah. But you know he's bad field goal percentage. There is chance for that to improve. I do worry that his assists drop off and he's more of just a scorer, but that's what we're looking at here. And I don't think Simons is going to start in Boston. I'm not even sure Anthony Simons starts the season in Boston. And I'm very sure he doesn't finish the season in Boston. And he's not a rebounds guy at all. Steals, no. Blocks, no. Field goals, no. He's a free throw percentage guy, a points guy, a threes guy. He will get assists. He will add that in as well. But I don't think his upside is particularly high, Anthony. And the last name on the list is someone that I'm very, very skeptical of, and that's Bub Carrington. Carrington's value, like defensive stats, he's never heard of those. His threes are pretty good. His free throws are pretty good. He's scoring. I'm a little worried about where it fits with CJ, the addition of Trey Johnson. I'm a little worried. But we talk about taking young, upside flyer types. That's what we're doing with Bub. And what we're doing with this show is saying bye-bye. Because that is the end of the tiers show for scorers. Tomorrow, I'm going to do one that incorporates assists and steals, probably with free throw percentage as the other category, as they're very highly correlated. And then we'll do the weirdos group as well. And that'll lead us into talking about my sort of top 24 in the major different formats for fantasy basketball. In the meantime, if you don't want to miss any of those episodes, then why would you? You'd be pretty dumb if you wanted to miss them. Like, surely you want to see them. Just thumb it up. Chuck a hype. Comment. Double bang. Subscribe. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.